Hey there, it's Robin, and you're listening to Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home. I'm here to help you create a healthier life, one simple shift at a time. If you're a mama ready to ditch toxins, clean up your family's nutrition, and build daily habits that support your well-being, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed not only with education, but practical tips and tools to help you transform your health and your home without that feeling of overwhelm. So let's take this journey together to create a thriving, low-tox home for you and your family. If you're ready, say, I am ready. Now let's get into this episode. Welcome back. I am super excited today. We have on the very special Barb Moylan. I met her just on the internet, just kind of going through some things, and was just really dialed in. I mean, she is a 52-year-old, which is around my age. She's also been in the fitness industry for over 3 decades. She has a degree in exercise science, a certification in nutrition and gut health. So she seems like the picture perfect health. We would all assume that from the outside. But her story took a little turn when she was diagnosed with stage 1 triple positive HER2 breast cancer. Barb shows alternative metabolic healing approach, which cannot wait to dig into that. She uncovered some of the root causes that caused this diagnosis for her. And as you guys know me, I'm always about root causes. I'm always about digging to get to that because that's where the healing truly starts. So welcome to the show. Today is, Barb just let me know, is her 1-year anniversary. So we are super excited. This is a very special episode for all of us, especially for her. So welcome.
You're cancer-free.
That is so amazing.
Yes.
So amazing. So again, like I said, you're in the wellness industry for over 3 decades.
Yep.
Exercise, I'm sure food was included, all of the things that a person in the wellness industry would think is wellness, because that's what we've been trained to do and conditioned to do. And so I would love to know, like, now where you're sitting a year cancer-free, how do you view true health now? From what lens do you look at it?
Well, I grew up in an environment of, sports, and, my mom was a vegetarian and a raw foodist. So I grew up in this arena, I guess you would say. Never perfect.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, lifestyle. Never perfect, so I don't want to ever paint that I lived like this perfect cookie cutter life and, did everything by the book. But yeah, getting, and I've dedicated my career to helping other people be healthy, and obviously myself included. So getting the diagnosis, it was May 24th in 2024 is when I got diagnosed. And when I got that diagnosis, I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute, what? How could this happen to me? That, I exercise every day since I can remember. I've eaten a very healthy life, or healthy, choices, all of that. And so, to answer your question, my level of health, I thought, was pretty high and pretty, above most,
right?
Definitely above most Americans. Now it's a whole nother level that I didn't even know existed. And when I have people tell me, oh my God, I'm so sorry about your breast cancer, I'm like, I'm not, because it has brought me to this next level that I didn't know existed, and it's elevated me. It's made me, I'm smarter. I'm living my life on a totally different spectrum than I was before, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the perspective on that. And I often have this conversation, but health and wellness is not just the food on your plate. It's not just the exercise and the movement and killing yourself in the gym. It is really, there's so many other parts. It's a whole body experience, and it includes primary stuff, which is off your plate, but it also includes genetics. Nobody wants to talk about the genetic components that sometimes we have, and we don't know we have them because let's be honest, those tests are not like, hey, let's do some labs and whatever, or just genetic testing in general, just to see where you're at so that we understand you as a human being better than just this cookie cutter. You're this age, this is what happens to you. You're this age, this is what happens. It's like, and and I think everybody wakes up to that at some point in their life when they've had an experience, whether it's a cancer diagnosis, whether it's understanding that your detoxification pathways don't work. There's so many things that kind of wake people up to. And sometimes it's younger, and I feel like it's happening younger and younger as we live in such a saturated, ultra processed, non-movement kind of society. But definitely, as you age, and then people are shocked, and it's like, well, if you look back at your life and you see like what you've done, whether you've eaten right, let's just say, or like what you think is right or what you think is the best for you. No one's perfect, like you said. And we are duped a lot of the times by marketing. And
Totally.
so, and then we're taught that you get on a diet because that's how you're healthy. There's just a lot of like messed up mixed
A lot
things.
of very unhealthy diets. There's a
Yeah.
lot there's a lot of unhealthy healthy stuff out there. Um,
Correct.
and you made a really good point, and I did a post about this, and I got a lot of interesting feedback. I did a post about weightlifting. I'm a weightlifting coach. Like that's
Okay.
and I said in the post that I used to lift and I used to do all the healthy things for the outside, the aesthetics and
Yeah.
how you look. And what I didn't know is that I was preparing myself for what was coming, thank God. Um, and now I look at everything that I do, not how it's going to make me look, but how it's going to positively impact internally.
And the longevity of your life.
Yeah. And I think that, one of my goals is let's get away from the aesthetics of
Oh yeah.
why are you going to the gym and why are you choosing to eat healthier? Like, yeah, the outside is a bonus, right?
Right. It's the
Shouldn't be
result of doing
so.
good to the inside, really.
Yeah, like if we flip that script
Mhm.
and really go, you know what, I'm going to do this, make these good choices and dig deeper into my own biology so that I can, be healthy from the inside out, then I mean, then you're going to look and feel even greater. Like that's been my experience. Is like I mean, I was diagnosed with cancer and I've never felt so good in my entire life, better than any other point in my life at 52. And it's because everything that I do every day is to rebuild, is to positively influence what is going on within my own biology. And that shows up very differently than working out and eating healthy.
Eating healthy. And yeah, absolutely. I love that. And
I feel like I've anti-aged like 10 years.
well, and I think that's such a good point. That script does need to be flipped, but it also needs to be flipped and educated about 20 years ago. Like
Yeah,
down, like when the kids are small. It's like, because I remember even like elementary, middle school, it's like you go to health class and you're learning about being healthy. It's like you can't even comprehend what that is. It's like at that age, and now sitting at 52, I'm like, okay, health is different. And lifting, it's like we get into these mindsets of like you're a weightlifter. So that means that you're bulky and you're this and you're going, it's like,
able.
or you have to like go to the gym. I'm not a gym person. I don't love the gym. It's just not my place. It's not where I find peace and solace and comfort. That doesn't mean that I don't have movement. It doesn't mean I don't like I'm lifting for a different reason. Like I'm lifting for longevity. I'm lifting so that when I go on an airplane, I can put my, stuff above. When I'm older and I want to squat down with my grandkids, I can. It's functional movement at this point. But I wish that I would have had that functional mindset a long time ago. And there was a time in my life where I did CrossFit for a little bit, but the aesthetics part, right? I was like, okay, I see my body transforming, but it was for a whole different reason, and then I got injured and I was like, well, that was ridiculous. Anyways, but long story short is that we do these things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
because this is what we've been conditioned to and taught. And we're just, and Barb and myself, it's like we're just trying to help you guys unlearn some of these things that are kind of toxic. They're not really serving you in a way that's going to make you healthy from the inside out. Do I think that weightlifting is important? Absolutely. Do I think yoga is important? Absolutely. You need to stretch and learn how to breathe and connect. I mean, there's so many different things, but pick and choose. There's so many things to try on. Pick what
Yeah.
works for you, but just understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Right. And on a deeper level outside of the aesthetics, but you made a great point, which is, look, as long as you're getting some type of movement, like I feel like walking is probably the most
Love it.
underrated form of exercise,
And
and
it's free.
kind of like, oh, and it's free. But also something that you enjoy, so you'll stick to it. Like,
Exactly.
no, if you don't want to be in the gym, it makes zero sense to me to say, "Oh, Robin, you need to go to the gym and you need to no, you don't. You could fill that carry-on suitcase in your own home and you could do overhead presses in your own
Exactly.
home."
That's right. You don't even
You know what
need to
I mean?
buy weights. You can just use your suitcase. I love that. That's awesome. But also, I want to say something back to the gym because my envisionment of the gym from when I was younger was like Gold's Gym or whatever those gyms were, and it's like but it's
I
like
worked at the Gold's Gym, so
gyms are so different now. And now there's like gyms that focus more on women, and so you can find your tribe, but what I don't want people to do, and I'm talking to myself, is just because you have that Gold's Gym envisionment doesn't mean that a gym wouldn't work for you somewhere else. It's just finding the right fit for what it is. And sometimes you have to try on a couple of different things to see what actually works for you. So I
working out and moving should bring you joy.
joy,
Should
absolutely.
You should walk away from it feeling really
Feeling,
good, as opposed to, oh God, I can't, I'm dreading the next time I have to do that.
yeah, 100%. And if that's the way you feel, it's actually counterintuitive because you're not really getting the benefits that you should be getting, the endorphins, the joy, the stuff that's necessary that you should be getting from the actual process of movement and working out. And again, if you're someone that lives in Florida like we do, it's hot out, but get out there and sweat and walk. I walk twice a day, 2 miles in the morning, 2 miles at night. It feels good to me. It's my time to just release, and what I do something in the middle of the day, and again, not everybody's schedule is like that. It's just that's how I've worked it out. And I think that's another thing. We have to go to gym 3 times a week, 45 minutes. No, it's like figure out what works for you. And yeah, you can't do it once a week, but figure out what timing is. It could be 2 days on the weekend and one day during the week if you have a crazy week, but I also think people dismiss like movement as a form of stress relief. So during the week when you have a busy week, getting in and getting some movement somewhere along the way does help to decompress that kind of stuff. I want to dip into the metabolic healing you chose. So people have heard, I believe at this point in time, metabolic, our metabolic functions, things like that. But what can you define or help people understand why you chose to kind of begin that route, I guess? And then what does that actually mean?
So when I was diagnosed, and I really wanted to know why, and I wasn't getting that answer.
Hmm.
And, when they did the genetic testing to see if I had the BRCA gene, and they ran, genetic testing for all types of cancer, and everything came back negative. So genetics from a cancer perspective were off the table. So then I was like, okay, well then if it's not genetic, how did it happen? And the conventional medical system couldn't answer that for me. And I needed to know why. And so I decided that, all right, if they're not going to help provide me the information to navigate that answer, I'm going to have to do it on my own. So I really just started doing a lot of my own testing and, got in front of the right people to help guide me.
So who were some of those types of people? Are you talking functional?
So
Are you talking?
I have a client that is a compound pharmacist,
Okay.
and she's more of an alternative, holistic approach. And she was a major factor in all, I mean, I'm going to send her a message today because I firmly believe she saved my life. And she probably added about 30 more years to my life.
That's
But
awesome.
her and then a really good friend of mine is she owns a Restore Hyper Wellness,
Mhm.
and she's an owner, but she's also a nurse. And
Okay.
they do testing at Restore. And so the first test I got was the methylation detox pathway test at Restore Hyper Wellness and a micronutrient test. I mean, within a week of being diagnosed, that's what I did. Because both her and Brooke were like, look, there are, there's with the way the human body works, there's clearly been a breakdown in the system. So let's start digging deeper. Let's get under the hood and let's start digging into your own biology and start testing and finding out what's off. And
Hmm.
sure enough, the methylation detox pathway test came back, the 5 genes that are involved in the detoxifying, getting toxins out of your body, 3 out of my 5 were suboptimal. So my MTHFR,
Hmm. We
my
call that the mother
COMT,
for gene.
yeah,
The mother gene.
my COMT, and then the MTRR were the 3. So now I'm like, okay, here's reason number 1. My body, even though I might not eat a lot of toxins because I eat
Hmm.
healthy, um, my environment. I mean, it wasn't until 3 years prior that I did the full sweep of my house. I
Okay.
got the Yuka app and I changed my lotion and my shampoo and my cleaning products. I did that 3 years prior, but the cancer didn't pop up overnight. Like the cancer had been brewing. I did get a mammogram in 2022 and it came up negative. But then I've got 3 tumors in my body in 2024 because I missed my mammogram in 23. But they were what I learned is that those tumors were growing for at least
Growing. I
five,
think they say like 5 to 10 years or something
yeah,
like that.
5 to 10 years, 6 to 8 years. It's just mammogram does not pick it up until it hits, I think, like 4 trillion cells. So I wish I would have known about thermography earlier in life because I would have, when I did learn about thermography, and I worked very closely with a thermographer and she educated me. Thermography picks up inflammation, picks up blood flow changes anywhere in the body, but particularly in the breast, and estrogen dominance at 256 cells. So you can pick things up sooner. Now, it's not going to identify a cyst, it's not going to identify a tumor because it doesn't pick up structural images. It picks up heat, inflammatory responses. It picks up like I said, the blood flow changes. But if I would have gotten a thermography done 5 years ago, I would have seen, oh boy, I got some hot spots in my right breast. I probably need to look into this. On a mammogram, it wouldn't have showed up. Knowing about thermography, knowing about, I think every person should have a methylation detox test, period.
I agree with you only because I have it. Like I had told you before we recorded, and I honestly didn't know until my daughter was discovered to have it. And one of the most craziest things that I learned through that by joining lots of groups, because I'm like, okay, now I need to figure this out because this could be detrimental to me down the road. And I am 52, and like I'm trying to help her and my other daughter, even though she doesn't have it, just understand like how do you support your body best when you have this. And what I found out is it can cause miscarriages. And I was like, that's so interesting because I had several. And because folic acid is toxic to us, but that's in your prenatals. And it's like, so if you're giving a woman who's pregnant this prenatal, and as a person who's pregnant who knows nothing, and again, in hindsight, if I would have known what I know now, I would have had a lot of different,
Right.
behaviors. But why would you not test everybody for that?
Yeah.
Like you're
That's
doing such a
part of the
disservice. But I really
infinite
believe
care.
I believe that they don't know that even I don't know how they could not be trained in that, but I know that's probably the case. But it's like, where's the education for these OBGYNs that this is an important thing to understand about your patient who's trying to have a baby?
Yeah.
So again, a lot of things need to change, but this is why we're podcasting. This is why we're having these conversations because this information is so important. Whether you're post having babies, never had babies, but if you have people you know having babies, just share the information, just share and then let people discover on their own. Do they want to have this test? Because again, it's not something conventional. So you probably have to pay out of pocket for it, which is ridiculous, but that's a whole nother podcast conversation. But I do the genes. Most people are not introduced to these 5 genes until they choose to start doing the digging and going functional. And that's again, see, when we started the functional path, that's the first test that they did on my kids,
Yeah.
and because we were trying to figure out something about one of them and they were like, well, let's do this genetic testing. And then it was like, boom. And I was like, oh, so this is like, okay. So now I was like, Ansley, this is like lifelong. We've got to alter things as you're going through life. And I wish that that test was something everybody was from
Well,
birth also, because it's not something that changes. You're not born with it. And then all of a sudden you have it. It's like you're born with these genetic components.
and there's certain foods that help support those pathways. There's certain
Mhm.
supplements you should and should not take. You need to take methylated supplementation
Yep.
because up until this point, I was taking supplements and I wasn't absorbing them.
Right. You
Like,
weren't getting anything from
no,
them,
I
which
was getting nothing from them because my body didn't
100%. And I
recognize.
would have to, I don't know what the percentage of people in the like United States would have this, but I often think about how much money is thrown down the toilet in vitamins, in minerals, in supplements, because you're taking it, nothing's happening. And then the person who's purchased all these things, they're like, nothing's happening and I feel terrible and this doesn't work. And yeah, it's not working because it's not working because your body's not working properly.
So I did later, I
Hmm.
learned of another DNA test that
Okay.
my compound pharmacist discovered, and she became she did the master class and became a certified clinician for. And this DNA test covers multiple different areas. It covers mood and behavior, your nutrition and food,
Hmm.
hormones, inflammatory response, cardiovascular.
What is the test?
It's called the DNAcompany.com. And this test was so crucial because it really dug into what my body absorbs and what my body does not absorb. So, example is as soon as I got diagnosed with cancer and I decided I was going to take the alternative route, I started juicing. Well, I found out that my body does not absorb beta carotene at
Hmm.
all. Like in the form of beta carotene, it does not absorb. So I'm juicing carrots. Well, guess what? I'm not absorbing any of the beta carotene out of the carrots. I need a different version of beta carotene, which is vitamin A, and I need it in retinol. So my body does absorb it in the form of retinol. So now I take cod liver oil for my vitamin A retinol needs. I don't absorb B12 through the gut. So I have to take sublingual B12. There's certain things that I need to do liquid because my gut doesn't process it properly. So even knowing that information, when I did the micronutrient test, I was deficient in every micronutrient that is associated with breast cancer. Vitamin A, vitamin D, selenium, iodine, glutathione. All of mine were
Those are all max. Those like glutathione's like your master
yeah,
antioxidant.
yeah.
Selenium, you can eat Brazil nuts if your body can absorb them. These are easy things. Nobody ever talks about them though, right? Vitamin D, we're all deficient pretty much. I don't care if you live in Florida or not. We're all deficient in some way, shape, or form with vitamin D. And there's a lot of different theories about why that is, especially for us who does, California, when we live in sunny states, but that's a whole other thing. But these are like basic things that should be on a panel test.
Well, and speaking of a panel test, so now that you brought that up, you know, and the doctor that I work with out of Life Extension, who is another,
Mhm.
heaven sent human in my journey. Um, he has committed to helping me navigate my blood work, and we do testing every 4 to 6 weeks, given what we need to take a look at. And he said when he met me, I sent him all my labs from the last 2 to 3 years. I sent him everything. And when we sat down, he said to me, he goes, Barb, any regular doctor is going to look at you, look at these, and then look at you and go,
You're fine.
you're
You're
good.
fine.
You're
Mhm.
in the green.
That's right.
You're in the green.
Yeah.
He's like, when I look at this, I see so many things that are of
Not
opportunity,
optimal. Yeah.
not optimal. Like
Right.
there's one thing to be good, and there's a whole nother, you know, mindset and framing of optimal,
Mhm.
and especially in today's world, we need to be going after optimal health, not average human, but average American, average human, because the average sucks. So, we gotta raise our own standard. We gotta raise our own bar and understand that there is another level, and it's called optimal levels. And to have doctors look at me and say, oh yeah, you're good, you're healthy, you're good. And then wham, I get hit with a breast cancer diagnosis. Now I'm a little more cautious with that word good. I was getting my hormones tested for through a blood test. Well, a blood test doesn't tell you shit about how your hormones are being metabolized.
Correct.
So until you do a Dutch test or a urine metabolite test and you see how each hormone is being metabolized and how it's being, broken down, distributed, processed within the body, you don't have a clear picture of what's going on with your hormones. And that was another big revelation that I had is, you know, ladies, we need to be getting a Dutch test. We need to be getting, or if you're like, my doctor wouldn't do a Dutch test. So
Right.
I,
Most conventional people will not, in
I
my
had to
experience.
pay out of pocket, and I
Mhm.
had to go through Life Extension and get a urine metabolite test. But they're great because they'll totally, either via Zoom or in person. I decided to go in person. Um, they will consult and give you your results and then guide you. So I take a nutraceutical,
Mhm.
uh, dim and cruciferous vegetable extract to help regulate, try to increase my good estrogen, decrease my bad estrogen, because that bad estrogen that was not coming up in the blood work, that bad estrogen causes DNA damage. And
Correct.
this was my issue with conventional medicine is that, you know, and I don't think I'm saying anything that nobody already knows. And it's not their fault, but it's all about treatment. They don't care how we got there. They don't care about prevention. It's treat, treat, treat. That has been my experience. And if anybody else has had a different experience, please let me know.
Well, I think the thing that
Let me know what doctors you're working with.
well, true, 100%. But I feel like it's like you said, it's not 100% their fault because they are trained with that mentality. They're trained to, if you see this, this is what is the protocol, right? But what they forget is aside from that protocol, there's a whole behind the scenes that never gets addressed. And,
Yeah.
it's a band-aid fix. Now, sometimes medication's needed, sometimes hormones are needed, sometimes nutraceuticals are needed. There are, if, but if you just throw that into the fire and you haven't really addressed the fire, you're not going to get any good results, really.
Well, and here's the thing. If I didn't uncover that my 4-OH estrogen was 14 and it needs to be below 10,
Hmm.
right? That estrogen is still, even though I did get a double mastectomy. Okay.
Hmm.
I had 3 tumors. It was stage 1, triple positive, HERS2 positive. They were like, it's aggressive and it's spreadable. Like, you want to talk about the fear. Okay. The
Right.
fear was, if we don't get after this right now, out of the gate, they wanted 6 rounds of chemo. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's pump the brakes. Like, there's got to be another way. I want to find out, what are my other options? Well, there are no other options. We got to hit it with the chemo. We got to shrink it so that we get good margins so we can actually go in and take it out. And I'm like, it just didn't sit right with me. So I was like, hold on. Like,
Right. Let me have some
I'm
time to
not going to
digest.
die tomorrow. So can we just pump the brakes and let me take this information in? Let me research. Let me start from good sources. And when I started doing the research and finding, like, wow, there are many other people that have overcome bigger cancer diagnoses than me and have done it alternatively. So if they could do it, why can't I do it? At least try, and let chemo and all the stuff they were throwing at me be a last resort. Why is it my only option? And look, God forbid, I don't even think this way, but, I still have that option if I need it, but it shouldn't be my only form of healing, or it's not.
But that's what Western provides. So,
Correct.
first of all, congratulations for having courage to just ask for time, right? Like to
I,
ask for a moment to digest, to use your resources, and I'm a firm believer that, people are put in your life throughout your life because they become resources potentially at other times in your life. But,
I could write a book just on that.
yeah, 100%. But it, you have to have courage to not let the fear overtake. Now, I don't hear you saying I would never do that, but I don't want that to be my first dip in. But you did have the double mastectomy. So then that kind of solidified some of the things, but learning what you learned about yourself, you would have never learned that about yourself had you not reached out to different resources. And again, it could have ultimately ended differently where you did go through the chemo, and that would have been okay too, but you would have been more prepared. Your body would have been more prepared. And I want to talk about a couple of these things because we've talked about, the testing that does help people to understand their bodies, because I always talk about everybody's bio individual. There's no two people that are the same.
Right.
And so getting those genetic tests, finding out your methylation, understanding your nutrient panel, I think is super important. Knowing where your gut's at, how's your liver functioning? Like all of understanding how your body's working on the inside, super important. But you did a lot of alternative things. And I want to touch on those because they're not just for cancer, right? They're not just so, but a lot of people don't know what those things are. So if you wouldn't mind sharing just some of the other alternative, like with Restore, like what are some of the modalities you added into the mix of all of it, understanding how to support your body a little bit better, what your hormones and all of those things were doing. What were some of those additional things? Because they
So
looked
the
amazing.
so the main thing, like at Restore, and they were great. They really worked with me and educate, helped
Mhm.
to educate me as to, okay, this is what we have and this is how it can help you. And the big thing was the high dose vitamin C. I do that once a week, 50 grams of high dose vitamin C through IV, um, and hyperbaric chamber after.
Okay,
And
can you explain what that is for people that have never heard of
yeah,
hyperbaric
so
chamber or like what it does?
yeah, so the high dose vitamin C, obviously, I mean, vitamin C in large doses is, a major antioxidant. It is going to, on a cellular level, do a lot of repair. However, when you're doing high dose vitamin C, you need the oxygen to push it deeper into the cells. So hyperbaric is amazing at getting oxygen deeper into this on a cellular level. So coupling those two together was imperative to drive that vitamin C further into the on a cellular level so that my body could absorb it, it could utilize it, because otherwise I would have just gone to the bathroom and peed it all out.
Yeah.
So, and getting that high dose, high concentration of oxygen into the body, because, disease does not survive in an oxygenated environment. It just doesn't. So the more oxygen that you can get into your cells, and even I actually had a little blood test, prick test of seeing, how my cells, how oxygenated my cells were. And it was shocking that, through caffeine consumption, which even in a small dose, or dehydration, how it clogs your cellular ability to deliver oxygen to the body. And so, I've really learned that your oxygen levels, the oxygenation of your body is important. And so the hyperbaric chamber has been instrumental in delivering the vitamin C. I also couple that treatment with superhuman, which I'll talk about in a minute, but because of the oxygen, but also at Restore, the infrared sauna. I do the infrared sauna at least 3 times a week.
So I have just a curiosity question, just this is like a personal. So the infrared sauna, like I can do steam rooms, but when I go into the saunas, it's like throws me off. And I know it's because my body has detoxification issues. And so that is just something that as I was learning, like, why when I go, am I feeling sick? Almost like I have to get out of here because I'm almost like overheating, and I'm not like a huge sweater, even my whole life, right? And it's like now I know it's because my detoxification, pathways, they genetically have some things that so I have to make them optimal so that I can sweat. So it's again, we go into the sauna thinking, oh, we're going to go in the sauna, we're going to sweat. And for some people, that's totally the case. And then other people, they're like, I feel sick. And so it's about learning your body's talking to you. And that is the whole, your body's going to tell you what you can handle and what you can't. And if you can't, then you got to start thinking, why? Why am I having this reaction?
And it goes back to that point that you have bio individuality. Like, for some people, infrared sauna is not the best choice for them.
Right. However, if you get your detox pathways working better, then it could be potentially a benefit.
Yeah.
It's just what my point in saying all of that was listen to your body. Like
Right.
your body does speak to you, and we dismiss it a lot of the times. It's like, well, so and so said this is great, so I'm just going to push through. Well, it might not be great for you. So it's getting curious, like, why do I feel that way when this other person feels this way? And not that but it just should make you curious. It should really make you start to want to dig to see like why I'm having a different reaction. But anyways, I live in Orlando. We do have some restores, but Restore is not the only place. So if you're not in an area that has it, these are just, we're going over these things so that you have some kind of frame of reference. So when you are looking for a place, if you want to, and again, this is part of her protocol for her cancer, but we can also do this without having a cancer diagnosis. We can do this to create better health inside of our bodies. So this is why I wanted to go over some of these things you utilized.
Well, and if I would have known
Right.
before, I could have been doing all of these
For
things
prevention.
to avoid and prevent. If I had the tools, the knowledge and the tools, I would be doing all of these things to
Right. And I also feel like these non-traditional businesses that offer these kinds of things, a lot of people's mindset around it is these are not what
They're
everybody does. They're kind of like a step up. Like not everybody can afford that or not everybody can do that. And yeah,
right.
that is true and it stinks. And
A
I
luxury.
a
It's
luxury. Thank
considered
you. Geez,
luxury.
my
Yeah.
menopause brain. Yes, luxury. And so I can't afford that luxury, so I'm not going to even look. But I
Yeah.
just want to encourage everybody to look
Yeah.
because, look at what you can do for your health and wellness. And if that means you're not getting Starbucks 5 days that week and you're going to put that money towards something that actually could be helping with your longevity,
And a lot of places now accept HSA money as
which
well.
is awesome.
Yeah. Like I know Restore does. So I can use HSA money at,
That's great. And I think that's a great question to ask when you are talking to these places.
yeah,
Because again, we do work, right? We do have a lot of us have those HSA programs within our work. And this would be an amazing thing to put it towards because although it's not covered by insurance, it's still part of your health and wellness.
a big part of my treatment has been the superhuman protocol, and that
Yes.
was made popular by Gary Brecka through
Hmm.
10X Health. Um, and luckily, and talk about people coming into your life at the right time.
Yep.
Luckily, I found someone local, a local business, physical evidence in Boca Raton, and I actually met the owner at Restore, and
Okay.
I knew the power of this protocol or this combination of alternative methods, and I was honestly considering driving. I live in Deerfield, and I was going to drive to Aventura, which would be 45-minute drive each way without traffic. And he just walked right in, and he's like, "Oh, I have that at my office," and I'm like, "Thank you."
Right.
But it's the PEMF mat for grounding. So you do 20 minutes of grounding on the PEMF, and then EWAT, which is exercise with oxygen training. So I have an oxygen mask on, breathing in 98% pure oxygen while doing intervals on a strider or whatever aerobic device. Um, and then I do that for about 15 minutes, and then a red light therapy bed that I lay in, and I couple that with methylene blue. So first the grounding to pull out the electromagnetic frequency that we're all absorbing all around us.
And just for people, you can purchase these mats for your home also.
Correct.
They are a
Yep.
little pricey, but I would say definitely worth it. And we can talk about the EMFs in a second because I think,
Well, or go outside barefoot,
yeah.
foot to
But
earth.
depending on where also you live, though, if you live in a place where you've got all the towers around you, it is still beneficial, but not as beneficial as it could be if you were in nature with nothing kind of
Yep.
um, those
Yeah.
waves and stuff. So,
And it's really interesting. He's got this device that he puts against your wrist, and it
mhm.
the EMF that you're emitting. And
Interesting.
whenever someone has come in to kind of, tour, and he'll show them, and I'll happen to be in the room, he'll bring out this device, and it'll show a reading of like 100, 200 EMF charge coming off of the body. And then he puts it up against me, and it's at 8. So
Interesting. I didn't know you could. I mean, I know I've seen those devices because one of my practitioners, she uses them, and her office is blocked, like so there's nothing coming in and it's very peaceful in there. But one day my phone, even though it was on airplane mode and I turned it off, it was still like something was happening. So she put it in this little bag. But anyway, she was just showing me how the metered work. I didn't realize you could do it off your skin though. That's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So, and it was kind of cool, for that person to see, like, oh wow, I've got, I'm
Radiation. Yeah.
absorbing, and I'm emitting, I'm,
The EMFs.
on to.
Yeah.
And then to see somebody that is doing the grounding and doing the PMF, I go to the beach, weather permitting. I'm fortunate to live close to the beach, but I go walk on the beach, for the sun exposure, but also for the grounding effect. And, I truly believe that my 8 or 9,
Mhm.
which is optimal,
Amazing. Mhm. Which is
it,
amazing.
yeah, is,
I mean,
it's,
I would love to be sitting in a room like a business meeting and just go around to all these people and see like, so I want to talk about methylene blue because it is something that's talked, depending on what your algorithms are, it's something that's talked about a lot on the internet, and he is known for this, and lots of people have used it. I've researched it. I have not used it because I'm still kind of,
Mhm.
easing my way and figuring out if this makes sense for me type of a thing. But tell us about it because you've had a personal experience.
um, well, everything that I've read, and I read, I can't think of the name, but it is a book by Mark Sloan, who I also read his book about cancer, but he has done extensive research on methylene blue, and anything that he does is highly researched and documented. And just, one thing that I found out, another thing that I found out in my DNAcompany.com test is that my mitochondria function is not good. So
What
again,
causes that?
genetically, whatever I picked up from my parents is the powerhouse of my cells are not firing, are not functioning um, at an optimal level. So they need help. It
Right.
needs help. So that is the main reason that I do the superhuman,
Protocol.
yeah, to reduce the EMF, the impact of the EMFs on your body on a cellular level, getting the oxygen into the body to help support the mitochondria function. But the methylene blue coupled with the red light therapy, those two together help to basically recharge the battery in your mitochondria. It helps to support it. Um, I don't I don't want to go so far as say rebuild it, but it definitely is a support.
Repairs.
Yeah, yeah, supports and repairs the damaged, because I mean, that's what aging is,
Mhm.
we are degenerating. Our cells are the function that is happening within the cells is degenerating. So the methylene blue, and especially knowing that I have mitochondria, you know, issues,
Right.
that I have found it to be a good addition to my personal protocol. Now, is it, good for everybody? I don't know. But knowing what I know
Well,
about,
learning about your mitochondria would be good for everybody, right? Like that's the
yeah,
first step to do anything. I wouldn't just, this is the other thing. It's like we see something that someone's not promoting, but that they're using, but we don't know what their backstory is, that we don't know what genetic testing, we don't know that they had all that testing. And again, I would have to venture, I'm not saying 100%. Most people's mitochondria is not full blown running at a good speed when we get to this age because we've just abused our bodies all these years. So,
yeah,
but I would get confirmation of that before just jumping on something. And I think that's the problem also. We live in a society where we just see a blip of something and we're like, "Oh, I'll just take that and
I'm
that'll
going to
make
start
me."
taking that.
And then you take that.
And
Yeah.
the other thing too is the source. I'm right now,
Correct.
the hot thing is, you know, methylene blue hit the airwaves, and now let's just, all the
Yep.
bad publicity about methylene blue is coming in because, that's just what happens,
That's
that
right.
it's
Marketing.
good. Now let's talk about let's put it down. Let's all the bad stuff. And the big thing is like, where are you getting it from? The source.
Sure.
Look, no matter what you're taking, no matter what you're doing, you need to make sure that it is a good source. It's third party tested. You know where it's coming from.
And that one of my huge components of my daily talking is you got to read your ingredients. You got to
Correct.
know where it comes from. You have to know what's in it and not just this is anything. Not all things are created equal. So methylene blue with this company could be completely clean and a good source. Whereas this company's like, let's just make the cheapest version and get it out there on the market. We'll do a bunch of fillers and people will think it's methylene blue just like this. And then, and again, it's just, this is with anything. It's with food, it's with cosmetics, it's with body care products, it's cleaning. You have to be an ingredient detective to make the best choices and decisions.
And not read the bottle. I
No,
mean, start with the label,
sure.
the ingredient label, not what's
Not the
wrapped
front.
around the rest of the bottle or, package. You start there, but then you've got to dig deeper and you've got to find out where, look into the company. Do they do testing? What kind of testing? Facility?
Mhm.
What are the things that they are doing to,
And
uh,
if this is just a cautionary on all levels, if they're the company doing the third party testing through like a sister company, that would be an absolute no for me
yeah,
because it needs to be third party tested with somebody who has no affiliation. Otherwise, it's to me not could be invalid.
right.
I know we're kind of coming to the end of the time, but I do want to hop into gut health just super quick because I know it's something you got certified in, along with your exercise science and your tremendous experience in this industry. Why did you lean towards gut health?
Because it all starts in the gut. I mean, if you have an unhealthy gut, you can't. You've got to start there. It's
So for somebody listening that's like, well, I've never had my gut tested and what could I do to, what are a couple of tips that people can take away today that they could start working on their gut health?
the first thing that I say to anybody is go into your kitchen. There's an app that I use, the
Mhm.
Bobby approved app. Start scanning the food in your kitchen and looking at the ingredients. If you just start there and identifying the things that you are consuming that have,
Sure.
chemicals, additives, preservatives, like if it's got more than 8 ingredients, which even that to me is a lot, and I cannot clearly comprehend what it is and it roll off my tongue, I will not consume it. It is not of this earth. Like it's man-made.
There's no value to it. There's nothing
Yeah.
that's going to support
And
your system.
I've had people, maybe they weren't in a position to do coaching or whatever. And I'll say, look, just do this one thing. Here's a free app, download it, go into your kitchen, start scanning. It's going to give you a thumbs up, a thumbs down. It's going to give you healthier alternatives. If you just start there and start switching things out, and you're consistent with only consuming things that are minimally processed, if not processed at all, within a week, you are going to notice the bloat in your stomach is going to go down. You're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to sleep better. Like it's a,
It's
you,
so interesting because it is that simple.
it truly is.
And it goes back to ingredients and it goes back to eating whole foods, and does that mean you can never have cake? Does that mean you can never have a cookie? No, it does not mean that. You guys are fortunate at this time where we are, but there are companies that have created a product in a box that doesn't have that still meets the requirements of like a healthy food. However, our grandmothers cooked. So we have forgotten how to be in the kitchen. We don't even understand that term anymore. So it's like getting back to our roots. Going in the
Yeah.
kitchen. When your grandma baked cookies, there was flour on the counter, there was sugar, there was chocolate chips, butter, and whatever. You go in and you pick up chocolate chip cookies, it's like 18 things long, and you don't have any of those, not any, but 99% of those ingredients don't even exist in your cupboard or your kitchen, or your refrigerator.
At the grocery store. You
Well,
couldn't even
true.
buy
That's
it
right.
at the grocery
Right.
store.
And so it's like just getting people to switch that mentality. And I obviously, have a heart for children. Children can't really read. They don't really understand. We are the provider for them.
Yeah.
And so we need to learn how to be doing this not only for ourselves, but for our children that are growing up into this next generation because they're in a toxic soup worse than we ever were. And there's no escaping if we don't educate them.
Yeah.
And we want to prevent, right? Barb and I were talking before we recorded. prevention is key. Like learning these things and how to be optimal. Is it 100% you're never gonna run into anything? No, but your chances are gonna go way down if your metabolic system is working correctly, if your DNA is optimal, you know, not your DNA, excuse me, your if you know about your DNA, then you know how to support your body better.
Well, and I've always said that the minute that we went convenient,
Yeah.
when you and I grew up, we were born in the 70s, right? Like,
Yes.
you
Yep.
know, convenience wasn't what it is today. And anything that is convenient typically is not totally healthy for you. Like,
Right.
if we went to microwave dinners so mom could get a job and be in the workforce, and instead of mom preparing the food, it's like, oh, now we've got microwave food and we can just pop it in the microwave and dinner's ready in 3 minutes. Like
It doesn't even make any logical
I
sense.
personally have had to go back to the roots and meal prep. Like,
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
meal prep, I think is another, it just scares people. It's like, but because it's unknown, because it's an unknown territory, but it's like meal prepping just means having intention around what you're going to eat for the week, having the food in the house. For some people, that's prepping. For some people, it's chopping things up and having it washed so it's easy to get to. That might be your prepping. And some people, it's making sheet pans of vegetables and large batches of ground beef or whatever it is that you're eating for that convenience of going in and building something super quick. And I have a 19-year-old daughter, and this summer, we were talking about how fast you could make breakfast. Like people think they don't have time to make breakfast, so they go through a drive-through. So we were
Yeah,
like, the amount of time it takes to get in the car on the way to work, to go through the drive, to just sit there, to scroll on your phone, to go through, to get crappy food, and then be on your way. It
get
took
'em-
us 6 to 7 minutes to make eggs, sausage, a parfait, whatever what we like, we're experimenting with things. We're like, how fast can we actually do these things? And so when people say, I don't have time,
oh,
that's a mindset. That's a choice and a mindset that you've allowed to live in your mind. So we just have to get that to be flipped. So as we wrap up, the last, we know gut health is important. It's something I preach all the time. I'm certified in it also because I think it's that important. And it's really what healed my kids is understanding about their guts and their DNA and stuff like that. But, as you've gone through this journey and now 1 year, today is your very special 1 year anniversary, which is awesome. And I hope you celebrate. How has your life shifted on a daily basis? And what are some new or even old non-negotiables that you live by on a daily that helps you to create the best wellness for yourself?
well, everything shifted because when you are healing, somebody says, or I've had people say this to me all the time, like, you don't even look like you have cancer. You don't even look sick. And I say, well, I'm not sick. I'm healing. And when you're healing from the inside, like, you're
Mhm.
I biohacked my own body and I found the areas that need attention, and I am doing all the things that I need to do to do that. It takes time. It's not a 90-day, it's not a 6 month. I mean, I've committed a minimum of 2 years. It takes every person that I've followed, their holistic alternative journey, it takes a minimum of 2 years to reprogram and to rewire what went wrong. And so it's a long game. And
Right.
so it's not a quick fix.
I
And
was just going to say that. Yeah.
yeah, it's not a quick fix, and it's not convenient. There's a lot of things that I've had to um I've had to give up, I've had to sacrifice. There's a lot of things that I've had to incorporate. Um, but just like with anything, in the beginning it was hard. But
But you're also fighting for your life. So hard and the
I had
fight
a
kind of,
really good reason to figure it out. Um, but with repetition, now it's just become part of who I am. Like,
and so it's been about 2 years, right? Almost like since
no, it's been 14 months since
14
diet,
months.
1 year since. So there was a 9-week period between diagnosis and
Hmm.
surgery.
Okay.
And in that period, with all the things I was doing, I was able to shrink the tumor. There were 3 tumors. The space was 5 centimeters. That's why they wanted me to do the chemo initially.
Hmm.
But with all the targeted nutrition, targeted supplementation, the high dose vitamin C, the superhuman, everything, fenbendazole. I do repurposed drugs that have been proven to highly impact cancer, fenbendazole, ivermectin, low dose naltrexone. All 3 of those positively impact cancer cells. So, to kill them. And I was able to shrink the mass by 1.8 centimeters. The sad part is I requested imaging prior to surgery because I wanted to see if I was shrinking it on my own. I got denied. So the only way that I knew what I was doing was working is when they took it out and they go, oh, it's only 3.2 centimeters. And I'm thinking, shit, I could have dissolved this on my own and not had the surgery or the reconstruction, which I never wanted. Um, so I probably would have made a different choice with the surgery, but July 31st of last year was my surgery when they physically took it out of my body. And I get tested every 3 months, my cancer markers and imaging, not imaging every 3 months, but to date, my cancer markers are low, imaging is clear. So everything that I'm continuously doing is keeping everything away. So I'm winning.
So that becomes your lifestyle because that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
like you said, I love what you said is, it was challenging at the beginning. It is anything new is challenging. Anything
yeah,
new is complicated because you're not used to it. But like, and in the wellness industry, it's like once you get into those rhythms, once you get those habits down, and that's what creating the new lifestyle looks like. And like you said, now you just do these things. It's just part of your day, right? Is it inconvenient
yeah.
sometimes? I'm sure, but so is everything, right? Eating's inconvenient sometimes. It's like,
Well, and I still need to keep doing it. There's still things that are like my estrogen levels are not where they need to be still because of stress. So now
mhm.
I'm shifting gears. My cortisol is through the roof. But I mean, look, you know, I've been battling cancer a very unconventional way. The financial stress of it, because none of
Yep.
this is covered by insurance. All of that is, and then I don't think this way, but in the back of my mind occasionally, and then I squash it is, oh my God, what if I was wrong? But now I'm so confident. Um, but there's still things that need attention because they're not where they need to be. They're not optimal. So I'm still on this journey. It's not, I had somebody ask me because I have a fundraiser. I'm having a celebration this Saturday to, celebrate my 1 year cancer free. And I decided that I was going to do an event and I was going to bring together a majority of the people that have been part of my healing journey and do a health and wellness educational journey. And
I
it's
love it.
basically an 8-hour workshop.
Okay.
And it is also a fundraiser because, I had to do a fundraiser last summer at my work. My work did it for me and raised like $38,000, which helped me
Amazing.
get through, being out of work from surgery, help with treatment. I had to start a GoFundMe in January, which to date we've raised $20,000 because, you know, the supplements cost close to $750 a month. The treatments are, a couple thousand a month, like
Yep.
on top of my regular bills. Now, the fact that my choice of healing isn't covered by insurance and I'm still paying $600 a month for insurance devastates me. And I actually wrote a letter to RFK Jr.
Good.
And I send the letter every month until I'm
Good.
sending it till I get a response. But it was my story. And healthcare reform. Like, I
Hmm.
wish that I could use my insurance money because it was going to cost anywhere between 103 and 147,000 or $146,000 for chemo for my entire conventional treatment plan. $146,000, all covered by insurance. What I'm doing is going to be about $85,000. None of it's covered by insurance. So I've taken on this $85,000 debt, um, that, I'm chipping away at. But I'm doing this event because I want people to learn, and I want to share and educate, and hopefully, someone will walk away and a light bulb will go off and go, "Oh wow, maybe I should look at my health through a different lens." Um, but yeah, my journey continues. And, at some point I'm going to be able to pull some things back, but I don't want to get cocky. I don't want to get like, and what I was going to tell you was someone goes, well, you're cancer free. Why do you need a fundraiser? Like, I'm like, because
Prevention.
yes, well, I have a 30 to 50% chance of reoccurrence because of the HERS2 positive diagnosis. Like, that. And look, now I coach people with cancer,
That's
and
great.
I have I have 5 clients, but 4 of them, actually all 5 of them, but um have done chemo and it's come back within a year. And like, now they're coming to me because they're like, okay, you have been able to do this without chemo. I tried the chemo route. Now it's back a year later. Now I'm going to try this. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's not too late. This is an option. And now we got to dig into your biology, and it takes time. It's not a quick fix. And
Right. It
unfortunately,
never is. And I love that you have the mindset and the mentality. You're still on a journey. You're still on, you're healing. You've healed that particular thing, but you're still healing your body that caused your body to go haywire in the first place. So again, it takes a lot of courage. It is scary when you have a debt that big that's should be covered, that's not covered, and which is a whole nother story. But you know, what I love that you said is, you're addressing your stress now, you're addressing your cortisol, because those things, they're not the food on the plate, they're not the movement, they are part of the primary, but these are things that impact people at a level that they just don't understand.
can't see it.
People walk around in this heightened state of stress, heightened because of the life that they've created for themselves. And it's like a trap. They feel like they can't get out of the trap. So they're just constantly, in fight or flight all the time. And a lot of people are in that freeze mode because they've just lived in fight or flight for so long that they just don't have any understanding of how to bring their body down.
My most recent hormone test
Hmm.
uncovered that my cortisol levels are so high that it's negatively impacting my hormones. And the doctor looked at me and said, look, all these things that you're doing are amazing, but if you do not get control of this cortisol situation, you have a very good chance of your cancer coming back. And it would, with all the work you've done for this one thing that, we had, I don't think you've really dug into, and I haven't, to be honest with you. Like, I've been in fight or flight mode
Sure, of course you have,
because
because
of
why? How could you not? Right?
what
This is
I
a
what I
situation of like, right?
bit
This is
off and what I'm chewing. But now I'm like, oh wow. Like, I mean, I was given this aura ring as a gift for Christmas, and I'm like, thank God, because I'm tracking my stress levels throughout the day. I'm pinpointing what in my life is causing stress so that I
so, and I do want to touch on that
quickly.
because stress is inevitable. We all are going to have different levels of stress all day long, every day, because that's part of life and being human. But it is learning the tools. It's learning breath work. It's learning meditation. It's learning how to combat that. just like we combat other things in our life, we just haven't been taught those tools and modalities yet. And so for you, I can already envision that this is your next step. Like you're going to
Yes.
learn how to do all of these things. And you think you feel good now. When you start pausing and getting that check with yourself on a daily, several times a day, you're going to feel like next level.
You know what I've done? And this has only been in the last 3, 4 weeks. Before I was on such a regimen, right?
Mhm.
All the things I
Survival.
had to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to do this, 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 and this. I got to do this treatment. Then I got to work out. Then I got to go for a walk. And then I got to go to yoga. And then I got to blah, 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 blah. Like, blah, 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 right now, what I'm doing, and I hope this can help somebody, instead of looking at my calendar and how I've filled my calendar in, now I am stopping and going, okay, before I go work out, before I go for that walk on the beach, before I even go to treatment, how do I feel? Do I feel if I feel tired, if I feel overwhelmed, if I feel if I don't feel like it, like not, if my energy is saying, you know what, Barb, it would serve you better to go home, put your feet up, decompress instead of even going for a walk on the beach, which might seem very stressless.
Right.
But maybe getting in the car and doing the drive. And I have pumped the brakes and I'm using a tool to help me manage, like, okay, what do I need? Not what do I have to do? Like the have tos.
Yeah. You have to shift the mindset. But I mean, I think for anybody who's going through a life-changing situation as you did, whether it's cancer, whether it's weight loss, whatever it is for you, we do get into those have to, because that's our control. Because we're
Yes.
trying to control an uncontrollable situation. And so that's where we go into that. Well, let me, especially women, let me just get an order going on. And then, I can do this. It's like,
Hit play. And then
exactly.
play
And
more.
it's like, but I encourage you to use the word pause because I think it's like you said, it just gives you that minute to reflect and ask, like, is this going to serve me right now? Is this something that I need at this moment? Or would this other thing serve me a little bit better in this moment of where I am today? And I can do that tomorrow. It's having going from rigid to having
Yes.
a little more fluid and flexibility. So
Yep.
I think, you're definitely on the right track. You're super inspiring. I'm very just so crazy happy that, I found you and just hearing your story. There's so many people going through similar things that have done different approaches, and there's not one right approach. And so it's just, hearing other people's, anybody's, way of doing things is just beneficial because it gives us ideas. It gives us possibilities. It gives us, you know, permission to think outside the box sometimes. And even if you go the traditional route, you still need these unconventional things. If you can do those with those and learn about yourself at the same time, that's definitely better than just going and just getting, the standard treatment and then doing nothing else. Because when you do nothing else, you're doing the same thing and you're going to get the same result. So it's just,
A lot of people go back, like, because lifestyle change, is not part of the curriculum of conventional treatment. People go back to the life, and every client that I've worked with or that I'm working with has said, yeah, I went back to what I was doing before. And because nobody told me any different, I didn't know that I needed to change my nutrition. I didn't know that gut health was a thing. I didn't know that my liver, like I need to give my liver some support,
love.
especially after chemo. Like there's so many things that are available to us to look into and to, you know, put on the radar, to make change so that you don't have to suffer or deal with things again or at all down the road. And it's just being courageous enough to, maybe not take it all on, but even, I've always said in little doses, like
My whole thing
everything.
is 1% shifts because,
Yeah, everything I'm doing today, I wasn't doing day one. It took
right.
me time, and I just added in a little a little bit here, a little bit there, took something away. But and then finding the right combination, and it's a process, and figuring it out, and having the support to figure it out, and getting the right information. I mean, that's why I started my brand, the BAM Fit for Life, is I wanted to cut through the noise. There's so much garbage. There's so much crap on the internet. And that is part of my mission statement, is I want to be a trusted, reliable resource. Like I
And
research.
there's not one person that possibly could know everything. It is about creating a team of people that know a little bit of something that
Yep.
you, as the patient, client, whatever, can put together that makes sense for you in your life. And I think again, that's where the empowerment comes in. We have to empower people to be an advocate for their own health rather than just sitting back and allowing people to say, you have to do this, just do this. There's nothing else. There's no other. It's like we have to start voicing up. And I do think that that is something that has been changing over the last 5 years. I do find a lot more outward voices about things that matter.
Yeah.
And I just think our health matters the most to us. And so we have to learn how to advocate for ourselves. And when something, there is a reason why we have that gut feeling, and we've got to listen to the gut because it tells us things, that are right for us and that don't feel right for us. So, all right, as we wrap up, we started talking about your non-negotiables. We got sidetracked because you and I could probably talk for a week. But
Yes.
what is a non-negotiable, that just one that you have, that you live by, swear by, that helps you? This is just your non-negotiable every day. It's not an option. You just do it.
I mean, that is a very difficult question to ask, but because I can think of at least five, but I'm going to go with the top one, because for me personally, without this, none of the other ones happen. My mindset,
Love
like
it.
my, like my, thank goodness I have cultivated a mind, and I've had to practice, but having a strong mindset has been key to my success. And it when this whole journey started, and I was fearful, I was terrified, and
Sure.
angry, I was all the feelings. But and I say this in my coaching, I say this all, like, we all have this bully in our brain, this voice that tells us that we're not strong enough, we're not pretty enough, we're fat, we're not, all the garbage, the noise. And I've really learned how to mute. I have muted that voice that tells me that I can't do something, and that I'm not capable, or I shut down the fear. It's not that it's not there. I've just learned how to silence it, and really believe in myself. And I've had to turn to a higher power, and believe that everything that I need to heal my body is inside of me. It,
100%. It is for
it is.
everybody.
And as long as I believe that I can do it, I will. Like, and that, like, because you could give me all the treatments, you could give me all you could give me all this stuff to do, but if I don't believe that I can heal, guess what? I'm not going to heal. And I think that's a lot of what holds a lot of people back. Right now I've got a stage 4 brain cancer, 30 to 60 days to live, call hospice situation of a client. And we are this Sunday will be 30 days, and she is feeling better than she's felt in 13 months. And the main thing I focus on with her, yeah, we're doing the juicing, and we're doing the targeted nutrition, and the supplements, and all the stuff, right? But the one thing that I make sure I do every day with her is mindset.
Hmm.
Is get into her head and help her believe. she is not going to die today. Like, she is alive today, and there is hope. Because as long as you got hope right here and you got belief inside of you, there's nothing you can't overcome. So,
Amen to that. Yeah, very true.
and
No, it's very true.
I get very passionate about that.
Yeah, well, because again, without having a clear, stable mindset, those chattery thoughts start to overrule and overtake everything. And at the same time, you do need the lifestyle stuff. You do need the test. All of those things do matter. But if your brain and you yourself are not feeling like you're going to be able to overcome, right? Like you got to have that belief system for yourself, an empowerment system that you build in yourself that a lot of us are not born with, right? We have to build them up because they've been crushed somewhere along the way. It's a practice. Everything is a practice, but that's, you know, there's no quick fix to anything in life that you're learning that's new.
In my event on
Yes.
Saturday, the first, I mean, I'm doing the little kickoff part, but the first topic is mindset. I've got the creator of Orange Theory,
Good.
who is a mindset genius. She's going to be sharing, you know, and I specifically started it with mindset because I so firmly believe that if you don't have this behind you, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah. And that's with anything in life, period. I mean, that's really well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing. If you guys are local, I'll put all of the information, you know, for you guys to be able to, you know, see if you can catch this Saturday's, you know, celebration. If not,
Virtual. It's so you
so
can't.
everybody, awesome.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the her Instagram, her coaching, all of that will be in the show notes. But as you leave today, I know that you can definitely take away several 1% shifts, but I really want you to reflect on, you know, Barb's story and what she's done through this journey and pick out a couple of things that you feel like, you know what, I don't know about this, or I didn't know about this, but now that I've heard it, I'm curious, and just do a little digging and research. And then, you know, just if you want to share with us, we'd love to hear what you kind of discover, the curiosity. For me, you know, as people are more empowered to do their own research and own self-learning, I love to hear what you discover, because it could be different than what I think or what I learned myself. And so it's for me, it's always creating an environment of learning between everybody, because nobody again can know everything. And so I would be blessed to hear from you guys to see what you guys learned from this episode. Until next week, I hope you all have a great week. Thank you so much for coming on, Barb, and I will definitely be keeping up for sure.
Thank you.
That episode had so many great takeaways. I hope you feel inspired and more empowered to make small 1% shifts on your wellness journey this week. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. If you want to leave a review, share your thoughts, and let me know how you're going to be implementing these 1% shifts into your life. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with another mama who could use a little wellness love. Want to stay connected? Join me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com for more resources, and grab yourself some freebies while you're there. Until next time, I hope you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to come your way. See y'all next week. Love to y'all.